All right, what's going on, everyone? It's a bye week, so we're off of our normal kind of routine. So I thought I'd just jump on, do a live stream, let us connect, talk Arizona Cardinals. There's a lot to be excited about this season. The bye week is kind of that time to kind of take a second, reassess, kind of just see where we feel about how we feel about things, where things are at. So I thought we would do sort of a live stream where we're going to talk about, how we think the various players and units have performed, a few other things like that. Talk about some of the stuff going on, anything you all want to talk about. Just a chance to connect and have a nice live stream chat going into the stretch, coming out of the bye. So want to say hey to all the folks that are here. Obviously, we've got Lennon Wolf, the AZ sports fan, the legend, who is always reliable to be here. Appreciate that. And also, speaking of reliable and legends, we have Mark Jackson. He's got a beer. He's ready for this live. That sounds really good, man. That sounds really good. We have XXX Little Res Kid XX Space X. Thanks for being here. What is up? Appreciate you being here. We have Simon. Thank you for being here. Good to have you here as always. So, I've got some different, some questions I want to ask y'all. I've got a few things we can go over. If you have questions that you want to go over, let me know. It's kind of open to whatever you all want to talk about. I've got some things obviously that I can mention here. We have Alucard here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being here again. No book tomorrow, guys. Devin Booker's probably going to be out for a few games, is what I'm hearing. So, but that it's a long season that's going to happen. But man, that Suns team is good. So I wouldn't stress out about that, obviously. But you'd like to have him healthy, but. We've seen what they can do with or without him. But back to the Arizona Cardinals. So, what we're gonna do a number of different things, and one of the things I want to do is kind of go position group by position group, and ask you all what grade you think these different position groups have earned. Like we're grading them, as though they're getting a grade like in school, right? We got Best String on here. Best Betty is here. Appreciate you being here as always. So I want you to think about, and I'll tell you the position groups we're gonna grade are the quarterbacks, the running backs. I'm gonna group the pass catchers, tight ends, and receivers together. We're gonna look at offensive line. We're gonna look at interior defensive line, right? The defensive tackles, defensive ends, not the edge rushers. Then we're gonna look at the pass rushers separately, grade them. The inside linebackers, and then we're going to look at the defensive backs and special teams. So I'd like you all to think about those different groups, and on a grading scale from A+ to F, where would you grade those groups? And we'll kind of go through them one at a time as we go through. And I'll give my grades, and we'll hear what you all think the grades they've earned. So just think about that as we get ready for that. I want to say hey to the folks in the chat. Zach Norton, thank you for being here. Yo, Bird City. Nick L. Kyler needs to play even for a series or two to knock off the rust. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he comes out a little rusty, right? We'll see. So, he's missed 3 weeks plus the bye, so that would be to be expected. What is up with the Buccaneers' main schedule? Talk about a cakewalk. Yeah, and so I know I still think the Buccaneers are one of the biggest threats. I know they've struggled lately, but that's a team that you can't write off. And if they've got an easy schedule coming out, I don't have it in front of me, but I'll take your word for it. That's a team to worry about, right? We got Jordan P here. Thanks for being here. Do you believe Kyler will be rusty? Rogers deck, Russ and Wilson all have shown rust after missing games. Also, it will be raining in Chicago. I don't think – so I think, okay, Russell Wilson has been, really off and rusty, if you would call it. But also part of it is, it's a finger injury. And, Dak, he's missed a lot of time for a couple years. I think I think what we'll see we might see Kyler trying to force things a little bit in the first half, so he might struggle a little bit, and if assuming he plays, I don't think it'll be like it'll linger past like the first half. I think he'll get into the swing of things, and and the Bears, are a team that's struggling, so hopefully this is a team that if he's going to be rusty coming out, hopefully this is a team he can afford to do that. Against. Did you listen to Kyler's interview? The Hope quote was not good. I did not hear that yet. So, I'm guessing he's saying something about hoping he will play. So I'll have to check that out, Mark. So maybe we'll see, right? Maybe there's not the greatest news, right? So before we get into the grades, I'm also going to ask you, who do you think has been the offensive MVP and the defensive MVP thus far? So go ahead and throw that in the chat. Who you think has been the offensive MVP and the defensive MVP thus far this season. So let's get that offensive MVP. Tell me who you all think. And I'm going to end this. I had a poll up. I'll leave it actually up for a few more minutes. I did a poll of what grade you think the Cardinals have earned this year overall. See if you want to throw that in there. So let's see. We have offensive. So Bruno, thank you for being here. Connor, I think that's a really good, obviously quarterback is the given position option you look at, but I think there's a good case to be made for Connor, what he's meant to this offense this year. So that's a good vote. James, we got another vote for James Connor. Marcus Golden for defensive. Little Res kid. Kyler Murray. I mean, it's hard to go against a quarterback, right? So I get that, right? And then we hear Jordan saying it's a tie with Kyler, Connor. Defensive MVP, Jalen Thompson. I like Jalen Thompson. He's been really good. I think he's underrated. So I think that's a good call there. Let's see, Kent Piper, thank you for being here. James Connor, Byron Murphy. Okay, Byron Murphy's been good, but I'll tell you what. I actually think and I'll tell you the PFF grades bear this out, and also when the eye test bears this out, Robert Alford has maybe been better. As good as Byron Murphy has been, Robert Alford has quietly been our most consistent cornerback. Like I'm looking at their PFF grades right now. Byron Murphy is great. And I know some people don't like PFF. I get that. But Byron Murphy has graded as 65.7 and Robert Alford 74.6 thus far. And Alford has been really good. So, but Murphy's had some big plays. That's for sure. I will say that for him. So I hope I'm probably behind in the chat. So let's say, Coda, thank you for being here. I might have already seen yours, but James Conner's offensive MVP just because, okay. And I think that's fair, right? It might be a situation where the Kyler injury is what knocks him out of being that MVP. But Conner's been so good, right? We've got Mark Jackson saying Connor. Yeah, man, I love some Marcus Golden, man. That dude is so fun to root for. And he has been so good, right? The tight end position as a whole was good. Yeah, it's been really good. Like, Max Williams was good before he got injured, right? So absolutely. Okay, so goal line audibles, thank you for being here. We got a vote for Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has, had a really good season. We don't talk about him a lot, but he's had some really big games. He's had a few drops that happen sometimes, but overall he has been really good. So I think that's worth mentioning. We got another Captain Kirk in Goldens. Lucas, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Silver Wolf AZ, defense toss-up between safeties. Yeah, so Buddha or Thompson. Buddha, I love Buddha, but I mean, Thompson, I feel like has been a little better than him this year so far. Buddha, but they've both been good, though. Offensive Humphreys is easy to forget how bad our all-line has been in the past. Yeah, I mean, he's not even, DJ Humphreys is grading okay at a 72.7, but he's graded much better last year, but he's still solid. And yeah, I mean I've been a Cardinals fan since they moved to Arizona, so I've gone through a lot of years of just having a bad offensive line. And DJ Humphreys has been really took him a couple years to develop, but now he's just been a nice solid left tackle, and it's really nice to have a guy you don't worry about over there. Going through the chat here, if I miss anyone, I apologize. Simon is saying Connor on offense, defensive, Jalen Thompson. Okay. Jalen is always where he needs to be and has so many touchdown saving tackles. Yeah, and I'm sure some of you know this, like the nickname for Jalen Thompson. I love his nickname, the Eraser, right? He erases mistakes, kind of the idea there. So he's been so good. I do love Marcus Golden, though. He has been so consistent with the pass rushing, right? So, yeah, it's hard to pick, right? David Renteria, thank you for being here. Go Cardinals. Let's see. Jordan P. Says Thompson. Okay, he's going. They're both kind of both for Thompson. Do you think chance of snow in Chicago? I think there is, and our guy Mark Jackson, who's in the chat, is going to be at the game. So he's going to be freezing his what off, right? Run defense is definitely an F. That's been rough, right? No, more like a D. Listen, they did do a good job against Derrick Henry, but yeah, it's been rough. Prediction for the score. I'm going to say the Cardinals do come out a little rusty, and I'm going to say like 27-17. That's what I'm going to say, and that's my guess right now, if I have to guess. And just I think they should. I think that I don't think Bears are a good team, but the weather might make it a little bit tough, and okay, 45 degrees and scattered rain. So that might be, sometimes that's worse than that rain. Sometimes it's worse than snow, just getting wet when it's that cold. I don't know. Let's see. Do you think Kyler can still be in the Pro? Being in the Pro Bowl, yeah. Being in the Pro Bowl. So now here's the deal. And if I'm not mistaken, the way that they do it, though, is if you're in the Super Bowl, because of the timing of it, you don't play the Pro Bowl. So we're hoping he doesn't get to play under that situation, right? That the Cardinals are in the Super Bowl. But I mean, missing 3 games. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times with the Pro Bowl too, there's a couple guys get voted in and a couple of them don't decide to pass on the game. So they go to the next guy in the line. So it's not as high of a bar to get in the Pro Bowl as you might think, because of that. But I think he could. Yeah, I mean, he's been so good thus far, and if he gets back to the swing of things. So, yeah. Is it going to be Justin Fields or Dalton? I know there's been some uncertainty, and the head coach there in Chicago has kind of not offered a lot of clarity. I think it'll be Justin Fields, but I don't know. Good question. Let me get this question out there for you all. What grade would you give the quarterbacks thus far? And then we'll go through running backs, pass catchers. But let's get the quarterback grades. What grades do you think the quarterbacks? Jordan talking about Pro Bowl tough. I mean, there's a lot of great guys but again, there's a good chance one or more of those guys might not go, right? Even if they get selected. So it's kind of that kind of a deal, right? But yeah. So if Murray doesn't, they've been saying it's a high ankle sprain, which is supposed to be potentially up to 5 to 6 weeks recovery is what I've heard. So, it's weird. Like if he doesn't play, I don't know if it's more serious than they knew. It's more like, I almost feel like the idea that he was going to play before the bye was overly optimistic. If it's a high ankle sprain, you shouldn't have expected that he would be back anytime before this week or next week. So I almost wonder if it's not as much that it's more serious than we thought. It's that they were a little too optimistic or aggressive in the timeline, thinking that he might come back earlier. But yeah. Let's see. Got a couple 31-16 Arizona backs back to a 30-plus road game with every run game, deep pass. I hope so. Yeah, we'll see, right? You just never know, right? The weather and Kyler coming back rusty could kind of dampen that a little bit, but we'll see. So quarterbacks, we've got 1 B+ here, okay? Let's see. We've got an A-, still had turnovers, okay. A- for quarterbacks, had a horrible game against Carolina, so that pushes down a bit. Okay. What is up, Big Play Slay? Thank you for being here. Oh, and I appreciate that. Congratulations, and I'm sure, hopefully, you all see we made it to 2,000 subscribers. So super excited about that. Got to that, last week I think it was. So man, I'm definitely really thankful for everyone, who supports the channel and is all of you that are here and subscribe. It's been exciting and fun to see it grow, and I'm looking forward to now, making our way to 2,500 and 3K. So just plugging away. But thank you. I appreciate that, Big Play Slay. So let's see. We've got quarterbacks a B plus. They're playing well, but there's some decision making consistencies. Really, the weapons, the line are making look okay. Yes, thank you, Lennon. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let's see. When he got hurt, it said he could miss 1 or 3 weeks. Already missed it. Yeah, and David, I think what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking when they said he was going to only miss 1 to 3 weeks, they were being I think that was maybe unrealistic. If it's a high ankle sprain, it could be longer. But so I almost feel like the expectations early when the injury happened were too optimistic. But yeah, high ankle sprain probably needed to be more than that. But we'll see. Hopefully he's back, right? So yeah, keep hitting those milestones, my guy. Awesome, appreciate that. I really, and if y'all, Big Play Slay is an Eagles fan, has a channel, so y'all might want to check him out. And I definitely appreciate him being here, so supporting the channel, even though he's not a Cardinals fan. But hope y'all treat Tay Gown well, and I hope he does well for you. I know we all loved him here. So thank you. So I'm hearing a lot of, oh, wait a second, we have Jay in the Bay. What's good? Are the Cardinals gonna something themselves like last year miss a playoffs for the 6th consecutive year? Oh yeah. If y'all aren't subscribed to Jay in the Bay, despite the fact that he is a Niners fan and a Niners YouTube content creator, he is a really good dude. I've had the pleasure of joining him for some live streams and really appreciate him. He just does a good job. Really good guy, has a great channel, even though it's Niners. So go subscribe with him if you haven't. Thank you so much for the super chat. Listen, hopefully we're not going to, right? Listen, listen, the Cardinals obviously backed their way out of the playoffs last year. I think this year they've made too much they've got themselves too much of a buffer. I mean, literally one more win might be enough to get them into that as a wild card. And I think when you look at the teams on the schedule, Lions, so I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs. But I saw a guy a beat writer in Arizona, Dan Bickley, who's polarizing. I know a lot of people don't like Dan Bickley, but I saw one of his articles. He was talking about, looked at Kliff Kingsbury throughout his career, even going back to college, has struggled finish in terms of his record over the end of the season, like finishing his last 6 games, he's had losing records just about every year. So that's a thing to look at. Is there something about his ability to adjust or not adjust, or lack of ability that's concerning? This year has gone really well, and it's going to be a test to see, right, what happens. So we'll see, right? I mean, based on history, it is a fair question. So I'm not going to handle it too much. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, Jay. And of course, I have to also say for that, my the thank you for the super chat, that the video. So and Jason, honestly, Carr's having a great year. I'm eager to see if Murray can have a long playoff run this year. I mean, obviously, we're hoping they will, right? But you just never know. You never know. But thank you, Jay. I appreciate you. Let's see. So we got a lot of B's, pluses for the quarterbacks. B's, B pluses. I actually, and maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much here. I actually was somewhere between an A and an A plus on the quarterbacks, and I know that might seem maybe even some might think that's a little too optimistic or a little too positive. But when I look at quarterbacks, the quarterback performance, you can't, I'm not looking for perfection. Like there are just very few seasons that are absolutely perfect. But if you look at Kyler Murray has been so good this year, and I think we can't state how overstate how good he's been. And there was this great kind of chart that's been kind of gone around on Twitter that PFF put out that had this chart of like graphed where quarterbacks were in terms of their turnover worthy throws and their big time throws. And Kyler is like first, like his big time throw rate is first in the league, and he's best in the league in not having turnover worthy plays. So like he's just on both ends. He's been so great. And Colt had that one really bad game, but to me, if a backup quarterback comes in and wins 2 out of 3 games, that's an A performance for a backup quarterback, or at least pretty close. So I was thinking like an A, and maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I do see a lot of B's. I've got Silver giving him an A, so that's so I think he's kind of on with me, but I'm seeing a lot of B's. So let's see. Let me look at this with how well we did against SF. I bet the team felt comfortable going 1-1 chill without Kyle D-Hop. I mean, I think a lot of 49ers fans felt really good going to that second game when Colt McCoy was starting against the Niners, and because the way how close the game was with Kyler. But if you watch enough NFL football over the years, you see that it's just games change. The game scripts change from one game to the next, and just because this game goes this way, the Niners and Cardinals are close in this game with their starting quarterbacks, and then you've got this next game, and the Cardinals are starting Colt McCoy, and the Niners have Jimmy G healthy. That doesn't mean just because the first game was close that the second game is going to go the other. It's just things just go in really different directions, right? But a lot of B's and B pluses. So for the quarterbacks, a few A's. And I apologize if I miss chats and comments in here. I probably won't be able to get to every one of them, but I appreciate everyone who's here. So what I would like you all to put in what your grades are for the running backs, and we'll get those, and then I'll just kind of hit a few comments that I see here. And say hey to some of the folks that are here. Calvin, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I keep both Kyler Murray and D-Hop in the sidelines this weekend, roll with McCoy and run the ball, let Ertz keep doing this. I mean, if Kyler is still banged up, there's something to be said for the Bears is a team you should be able to beat. So I mean, I could see them doing it. I mean, if he's not healthy, they'll sit him. This would be a game to do that. Let's see. With the win against the Bears, we essentially do with a 99% chance to make the playoffs, but that's 1% involves a lot of tiebreakers. That's almost impossible to occur. Yeah, so I really do feel like one more win. I mean, it doesn't officially lock a playoff spot yet because other teams would have to lose, if that makes sense. But I think in terms of probabilities and the way it plays out, I think 10 wins is going to be enough to get in the playoffs, but it won't clinch the spot this week. It's like one more win, get to 10 wins, but you need a few more weeks to play out where other teams are losing before it would officially clinch, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think one more win is probably all they need. So let's see. Apologize if I miss anyone here, but I appreciate everyone who's here. So running backs. I think we're starting to get some. Okay, so Simon thinks A is too optimistic. Chris has brought down the class average. Yeah, I'm glad they moved on from him, but I think we all agree that quarterbacks have been good, right? But whether it's A or B. So running backs, I'm guessing these are the running back grades, right? A. Running backs get an A plus. Doesn't even need an explanation. Okay. A lot of A's. Okay. Well, we've got Mark giving a solid B. They're still having issues getting big yards. Okay. Jordan P is right. Running back saying, I'll tell you what. I had a B plus. I think Connor has been so good. And I think overall the running backs have done a really good job. They have done what the Cardinals needed them to do. They have helped seal games, close out games. I absolutely think the running backs have been so good. But with that said, they haven't been a team that's run. They just haven't run for a ton of yards every game. Like they've had good games. I think, that I do think that they've been really good. Um, but I don't think they've been an elite running game at that team, if that makes sense. So I'm giving them a B plus. Really close. Hey, Roger, thanks for being here, but do me a favor and please don't do the spam thing. We all saw your comment the first time, so once is enough for the same comment. Appreciate that. Thank you for being here, though. But running back, but listen, it's to me it's a B plus because they've been really good. But if I'm not gonna, if you think it's an A, I'm certainly not gonna split hairs with you there. I think it's definitely definitely been good. Oh, Wolf Langus, good question. Is Kliff Kingsbury worth $10 million? We'll talk about that. It may be, right? I mean, whether he's worth it or not, there's what someone's worth and there's the going rate, and that's what it might take to keep him, maybe, right? I'll tell you what. Once we've got two more. We'll do is between the offensive grades and the defensive grades, we'll get into the Kliff Kingsbury stuff because I definitely planned for us to talk about it today. So let's do the grades for the rest of the offensive positions. We got pass catchers and the offensive line, and then we'll talk about some Kliff Kingsbury before we get to the defensive grades. But that is a good question, right? So let's see so I'm seeing a lot of A's for running back. So people feel really good about the A's. So let's talk about the pass catchers, and we'll group in receivers and tight ends together. Pass catchers, what is your grade for the pass catchers this year? What grade would you give? Oops, I need to move this along, don't I? Pass catchers. There we go. Pass catchers. So when you look at the pass catchers, what grade would you assign them? And we'll get some comments while y'all are putting your grades. Connor has filled his role to the T, and Edmonds was really good before the injury. Can't grade us based off not being an elite run team when elite quarterback. Okay. I will say, though, that there have been part of that grade is also like the yards per carry haven't always been the greatest. I mean, they've had some games where like they had some big plays, but they – there are teams where you'll see like 5 yards a carry, we're getting like 3.5 yards a carry. So part of it's not just that there's a few other little things that had me drop it to a B plus, but this is totally subjective, right? This is my opinion. So it's, that's all good, right? So let's see, we've got first grade here. Pass catchers with an A minus, still some drops overall, really good from Mark Jackson. Okay, so we've got an A minus from Mark Jackson. So pass catchers, what grades do you all think for the pass catchers? Max Williams was really good before he got injured. And then obviously, Zach Ertz has come in and done really well. The receivers, we've had some good play. AJ Green gets an F. Everyone else got an A. Oh, man, I feel bad for the guy. That one game was really rough. He's had a couple plays, but I'll tell you, he's had some good big plays for the Cardinals too. So, some more folks down in AJ Green. Jordan P. Pass catchers B plus. AJ Green severely brings the grade down, not turning around. Okay, I'm still salty. Hey, I don't blame you. I get it. Lennon Wolf. Okay, Lennon Wolf likes an A plus. Nick has got a B for the pass catchers. Simon's got an A. Tight ends outperformed expectations. Right receiver has seen contributions from everyone. There aren't many catastrophic drops. Just that one, right? Evan Keel. That was the play, though. Yeah. That was that play. I mean, listen, that was rough, right? So I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing a lot of people like A minus, a few A pluses, some Bs. So I think there is a little bit of variance, right? A little in terms of the grades that folks are given for the pass catchers. Um, I had an A minus for the pass catchers. I think so. Mark and I are right on the same note with that one. I think overall the receiver core has been good and deep. The fact that different guys have stepped up every game and it hasn't been just one guy has shown that overall just guys have really done a good job, filling roles and stepping up when they needed to, getting what the contributions out of the tight end position. The few miscues here and there, and that one big play is what keeps it from being an A or A plus. But overall, I feel like the pass catchers have been really good. I think they've done a really good job. So I give them a solid A minus. Wesley's been good. Yeah, when he's got a chance to play, he's been good. Rondale's been good, although he's been a little quiet recently, but he's had some really good, some amazing catches. That sideline catch was unreal. AJ's been good. Yeah, besides those two games, I think people are forgetting how good Green has been aside from those two catches. But there's there's also been some really big plays, like in the Jacksonville game. There was a play downfield where he went up and got a 50-50 ball that Kyler threw up, right? And he made that play. And he had another one in the most recent game against Seattle. He's had some of those big plays. So yeah. Trying to guess what team Arizona has won a championship. Trying to guess what team in Arizona has won a championship. Well, Diamondbacks have, right? I was alive for that. Do you think Wesley will play screen next year? That's a good question. There's a possibility. I think I don't know. I could see them bringing Green back if the price tag isn't too big because he has been good in that role. But maybe, it seems like he does seem like that kind of big outside receiver that they like out there. So it wouldn't shock me if, especially with the contracts and everything, they just, they have to they can't spring everyone back. I could see that, right? Kirk has been really good. He actually only has 12 yards less than he gave freaking Metcalf. Yeah. Metcalf's had an off year, but yeah, Kirk has been good. None of our receivers have dominated the targets. It's been spread out really, really well, which to me is a good thing. It means it's hard. You can't just key in on one receiver. So what about the offensive line? What grades would you assign? What grades do you think the offensive line has earned thus far this year? All together, and that's maybe a tricky one, right? Yeah, Andy Isabella hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't. That guy, I'm surprised he hasn't seen the field at all with the injuries. You think when there was a game where AJ Green was out and DeAndre Hopkins was out, and we still didn't see him. So, yeah. Yeah, Mark. Yep. So Mark also agrees that he loves spreading out. Yeah, when you can't hone in on one guy, I think that's really helpful. Yeah, Isabel has those 3 tackles, right? Yeah, on special teams, right? Yep. Which O line, with or without Hudson? Yes, both. The offensive line overall, right? So Hudson A plus. Hudson, man. Well, I can't. I tell you, I can't give Hudson A plus because he's had some low snaps, so that has to bring him down to an A, right? But he's been so good. He's been so important for this team. But the offensive line overall, so you have to include the performance, and it's listen, in the NFL, it's next man up. When someone gets injured, guys have to step in. So you have to grade the unit as a whole, and part of that is you need those guys to step in and perform like that, right? So, let's see, we've got. And Chaser, Alec, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. He's also also a guy who's really active in the Discord. And if you aren't part of the Discord, there should be a link in the description of the video. Join the Discord. We have a good group that's always in there posting stuff during game times. We have a good group that's active in the chat. So, but he says a solid B for the offensive line. Okay. I'm Hudson A plus. Nick said. O-line gets a C overall. Injuries are a factor. Okay. All right. Let's see. O-line, a solid B. Okay. Let's see. A Hudson pressure allowed rate this season at 1%. Nice. Okay. I mean, listen, he's been so good, right? For this team. So, I mean, such an improvement over, Mason Cole. And absolutely, he's been a game changer. So, when he was out, we struggled, right? Aaron Van Buren, what is up, dude? Thank you for being here. He's part of the Cardinals Conversation Core. If you aren't already subscribed to them, check them out. Cardinals Conversation Core. Appreciate you popping in, buddy. They do a good job over there, so check them out. So I'm seeing now, Aaron, didn't you play offensive line? You might have jumped in here just in time. We're grading the Cardinals offensive. We're grading the different position groups, and we're at the offensive line. So love to hear where you would grade the Cardinals offensive line thus far this year. It's not a lot of consistent. There's some folks. I think we're seeing a lot of B's, maybe a few C's, but it seems like a lot of B's. So Aaron, I'd love to hear your perspective being a former offensive lineman. Let's see, Simon saying O-line a B+. Our backups have outperformed in some instances. They struggle to protect the quarterback or don't get huge push and run blocking. Okay. So a lot of grades in the B range for offensive line. So love to see. We'll see what Aaron has to say in terms of what grade he would assign. I'm going to go ahead and throw out my grade. My grade for the offensive line, I went with a B-. I think the offensive line, has struggled with some injuries. Some of the guys who have filled in have played well at moments, but also struggled at other points. There were those missed snaps, those bad snaps, with Garcia and such when they were in. Some of the guys who've stepped in have struggled at points. It hasn't been a train wreck, so it hasn't been horrendous, but it hasn't been. Kyler's had time to throw, a decent bit this year, and he hasn't been sacked at an unreasonable rate. Although his ability to evade and exit the pocket helps with that. But I give them a B-. Let's see. Aaron says, I think we struggle on double teams. Look at the Minnesota game. Let me put this up. I think we struggle on double teams. Look at the Minnesota game, and our guys struggle to get at second level. Despite all, Arizona has a great record of expected point score this year. He's got an article on Raising Zona coming out on that soon. So check out his article for sure. Appreciate that. So Catalog, thank you for being here. Hello. Appreciate you being here, fellow Cardinals fans. So I'm seeing a lot of grades in the B for the offensive line. So, and mine was a B-. Aaron, I don't know, would you be willing to give us a letter grade on the offensive line? If that's a stealing the thunder from your article, then I totally understand. But if you'd be willing to give us a letter grade on what you think the offensive line, be interested in see what you think. But everyone, check out Aaron Van Buren's stuff. They do a good job at Cardinals Conversation Core, and then also writing for Raising Zona. So we've gone through the offensive positions in terms of their grades. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, before we jump to the defensive grades, I want to take a minute to kind of change gears just for a little bit. And we're going to talk about the Kliff Kingsbury rumors to Oklahoma. And if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have, I think it was Adam Schefter, if I'm not mistaken, who tweeted that that there was a rumor that Oklahoma, having lost their coach to USC, was going to be looking. With Lincoln Riley going to USC, that they were going to be looking. Obviously, they're going to be looking for a new head coach, and there was a rumor that Kliff Kingsbury, that they were going to go after him, right? So just want to talk about that a little bit, and I've got a few things about that we'll talk about. But let me get caught up on the chat here. Mark Jackson was O-line guy in his youth, so you're a little bit critical. Okay, well that's fair. Thank you for being here, Gary. Appreciate that. How rusty with Kyler and Hopkins? We were talking about a little bit earlier. If they play, I think Kyler will be rusty at least for the first couple series, but I don't think it's going to last past the first half, if not past the first quarter. But we'll see, right? Hopefully they play. That's even a concern. Okay, so Aaron, I'll give pass blocking a B plus to an A minus, run blocking a C plus when outside of the red zone. Okay, awesome. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. What is up, Payo Time? If you aren't subscribed to him, again, even though he's a Rams YouTuber, he is a good dude and does good stuff over there. So check him out. Appreciate you being here. I'm doing well, and I hope you are doing well, Zach. I appreciate you. I want to say hey to the folks that are here. Keenan Oken, thank you for being here. Kliff can't compete with college recruiting. That one was fake. They said Notre Dame too. Yeah, okay. Kliff leaving his agent leaking that to get Kliff more money from Kyle Bidwell. Hope people don't fall for it. Yeah. So yeah. And also yes, check out Lennon Wolf. He's got a channel. He's where he has Arizona Cardinals content as well. So let's look at a couple things. And obviously that word came out. Now Kliff has another year on his contract after this. So he's still under contract now. If he really were wanting to go, it's depends. It gets a little dicey in terms of how it works out. Teams can block you can't make a guy stay in coach. A person doesn't have to stay in coach. Obviously, then they would be in violation of their contract, and you would not have to pay them. And there's a whole bunch of legal stuff to that. But you can't. The team could block someone from coaching somewhere else, but there's also a sort of a PR side of this. It's one of those things where if you have an organization and someone wants to leave to go somewhere else and you block them, it's one of those things where like the next guy who's coming in, if you don't manage that carefully, it can be a situation where people who might want to come here in the future, like, I don't want to go. I saw how they did that. I saw how they did Kliff when he was trying to, when he had that opportunity, and I don't know if I want to go there. So there's a certain public image thing you have to manage. So this is a long way of saying it's not a certainty that a team would block someone from leaving, but they also might put their foot down. So the question of whether Kliff could get out of his contract is a little iffy, right? He maybe it depends. There's some variance there, but a lot of people are saying leverage by the agent is why this came out, and I agree. Yeah, and I don't want you to think I'm not ignoring that point. Absolutely, I think that long and short of it, I do think that's what it is. But there's a couple other things though. Let's see. Let me see. What you just said is what happens when we fire Weeks. It allowed Kingsbury to get in because otherwise he's never hired. I don't know if you're responding to someone else, but okay. Let me get a couple of these comments. Kliff has a lifelong dream QB and his highest level of football is great state. Also the best team in the NFL and doesn't have to recruit, not going anywhere, pay them and kind. Yeah. So let's for a second, and I get it. No one thinks he's going, and I don't think he's going. But let's just for the sake of objectivity, let's look at step back and look at what would be the pros and cons. Okay. Like with the NFL versus college, if you become the guy at a college program, you become like royalty in that town. There is something to be said for it. Like Nick Saban, and I know Tuscaloosa isn't necessarily the place everyone would want to be, but like the dude owns Alabama practically, and he can stay there as long as he wants. Right. So there's this long-term job security. There is this status that you get that as a college head coach at a big program like that is something that can't be can't be sneezed at. With the NFL, listen, there are some coaches that stick around for a long time, but even Super Bowl winning coaches don't last forever necessarily. So there is a job security element of the college thing that can be appealing. But on the con side, the recruiting is a lot of headaches, right? So, on that side of things, A lot of guys would rather be in the NFL because they don't have to deal with all the recruiting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hassle. So there are pros and cons, but I think really what all this comes down to, and I've got some stuff, images I want to put up. I do think it comes down to a leverage thing. And I know I see everyone seeing that, and I absolutely agree with that. So let me show you something. I put this together. These are the top 5, and I've got Kliff Kingsbury on there, highest paid coaches in the NFL and college, not including, the potential, the Brian Kelly, going to LSU and Lincoln Riley going to USC are going to break, they're going to probably be at or near the top of this list. But this is prior to those moves. These were the top coaches. Okay. Now, if you look at this, the NFL coaches at the top are making more than the college coaches. It's not it's not as far off as one might have thought, but they are making more. But Kliff Kingsbury at $5.5 million, he would make more at Oklahoma. In fact, with the way things are going, he might come close to doubling his salary if he were there. Okay. And he is, he's the 11th highest paid NFL coach, right? So clearly there is potential for him to earn more money, whether it's at college or with a contract extension. So I think when you look at this, and he certainly added fuel to the fire when he didn't completely shoot it down, when he didn't say, no, I'm not going. He said, well, I don't want to talk about that right now. Right. And so, so when you look at that, sorry, I'm seeing in the chat, I want to say, let's see, here's the official channel in case anyone wants to follow. Oh, so Aaron jumped in. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, check them out. They do good stuff over there at Cardinals Conversation Corps. So where was I with this? Okay, so the contract thing, he wants to get paid more. And if he were to go to Oklahoma, he would get paid more. And when he was asked about it, he said, well, I don't want to touch that right now. He didn't say, I'm not going anywhere. He played it savvy. He played it probably the way his agent told him. Don't deny it. Don't say you're going, but don't deny it, because it's the leverage thing, right? And in fact, JJ Watt had a tweet about that. Let me put and if you haven't seen it, here's the Adam Schefter tweet, and JJ Watt is responding. Oklahoma targeting head coach Kliff Kingsbury and JJ Watt killing it on the field and at the negotiating table. I see you, Kliff, right? Let me put one more. So I think JJ Watt has it, right? I do absolutely think that it's a leverage thing, right? And let me put one more thing. Just to say, Lincoln Riley, this is a tweet that I saw that's out there that is potentially what they think Lincoln Riley is going to get at USC. And it doesn't say how many years. I'm going to guess it's 10 years, but I'm not certain. 110 million. So, they're saying I'm hearing 11 to 12 million. But USC is also buying both of his homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking, so he doesn't have to deal with that. So that's a bonus, a $1 million bonus, I guess, apparently. Buying a $6 million home in LA for him, and unlimited use of the private jet 24/7 for the family. Now, Kliff isn't necessarily getting that sweet deal from Oklahoma, but there's a reason that you can't completely dismiss that Oklahoma thing, and at minimum the leverage that it provides. So I do think he's using it for leverage. That's borderline insanity, right? Anyone would take that, right? So never do 10-year deals, because they become obsolete, right? So here's the question, if Oklahoma is offering him maybe not even that deal, but something even kind of that ballpark, you can't completely shoot that down. But no, I think I tend to agree with everyone who's saying, and if I missed any of your comments, I apologize. But I do think that is about leverage, and I think he's smart to do it, right? Don't let his agent get that out there. Don't completely shoot down the rumor. Just say, I'm focusing on Chicago. And he's in the best situation leverage he's going to have. Like the team's currently in position to be the number one seed, likely. I mean, barring something that a historic collapse, they're going to make the playoffs. Things are looking good, and he's got a college team that wants him. Use that leverage and get to be at the top of that salary. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. And I think it sounds like from the chat, I think a lot of you saying the same. So just give Kliff $9.5 million a year, and that's it. He's coming back. Yeah. So you think he's going? All right. You think he's going, Len? I don't think he is, but here's a good point, right? And to think, this is the guy who half a year ago we thought was on the hot seat, right? So absolutely, right? So I think, I think that he's smart to use that leverage. And let's see, Kingsbury's been Gruden, and think he got Tim. Yeah, it's contracts are funny. It's not always, your contracts aren't always really representative of what you're worth. It's some of it's timing when you sign it and how bad one team wants you. The Raiders wanted Gruden, and he didn't. It was going to take a big contract to pull him out of the broadcasting booth after all those years, and so these situations are kind of weird, right? So there's a lot of variables in that. Gary, they will give him an extension probably as soon as we make the playoffs. Yeah, if not that, maybe after the season. But I think he's getting an extent. I didn't, going into the season, I didn't think he's getting an extension in this yet. But I think he is after the way this team's performed. So yeah, I think you're probably right. So yes, let's see. So if I'm looking through the chat here, so got a question here. Kind of, what do you think about all the mystery surrounding J.J. Watt and the injury? And I think this might be a good way to segue to what we're going back to, which is the defensive grades. I don't know that there's to me, it's not mystery as much as, initially the type of injury he had, they thought he was going to be out all year. He wanted to try to rehab it a little bit or see if he could play through it. And then it's like, no, he can't. So they put him on the IR, but he's working his tail off to recover. And he's doing some stuff on the sidelines in practice that is giving us hope that he might be back for the playoffs. So I don't know if I'd call it a mystery as much as just some uncertainty. It's an injury that has a certain timeline to recover. He's trying to do everything he can to accelerate that timeline, be ready early. And it's really, I think it's just a matter of he's got to keep doing his work, and they've got to see how the healing progresses, or where he's at with that, and see if he's going to be ready to play. So I think if there's a mystery to it, the mystery is how quickly is his body going to heal? How is his body going to respond to the what he's doing to rehab it? So it's the mystery is how is his body going to respond in the coming 6 weeks or so, right? So we'll see, right? Yeah, Jordan P saying JJ seen working out on the sidelines, so to see it, he'll be back this year. Really hoping so, right? Hope so. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Aaron is saying he'll be at the game in Chicago where he lives. Not going to be cool. Mark Jackson's going to be there too. So maybe you two should catch up for a beer or something. Mark's going to be there for the game. So awesome. Steve Kime said JJ actually didn't tear his rotator cuff, so it's a bit of a mystery since he said initially he tore it. Okay, so maybe the injury. Yeah, and again, I'm not a physician, so I don't know. Let's see. And let's see. Technically, rotator cuff made up of 4 muscles. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So yeah. I don't know enough. I'm not a physician, so I don't know. It might be that they thought it was completely torn and then just partially. Maybe, I don't know. That's a good question though. So do you think Kyler New Hampshire should sit against the Bears or prefer for the Rams? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but if Kyler's if they're not healthy, yes. if they're in a point where there's a high risk of re-injury or a moderate risk of re-injury, more than or an above average risk of re-injury, then I say yes, right? The Cardinals have got themselves enough buffer that they're if they're going to make the playoffs, barring the unthinkable, they'd have to lose every game and have some things go against them. So I think I think if I can't say for sure I think they should, because I don't know how healthy the ankle, and then Hopkins, I think it's his hamstring if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how healthy they are. But I have to say that with a condition, conditionally, if they are not healthy enough, or if they're in a situation where there is an above average risk of re-injury, then yeah, they should sit them against the Bears. That would be my take. Let's see. I would love to see that Behemoth blowing up plays in the background. Yeah. I mean, having him back would be really, really, really. Having Watt back would be really huge, right? So let's get to the defensive grades, right? So we're going to start with the defensive interior line. Okay, so what grades do you think what grade would you give the interior defensive line thus far? This one might be a little bit rough, right? So what grades would you give the interior defensive line, right? So this is the defensive tackles, and already got a big F. I'm seeing, okay, Richard's saying a B minus, okay. So, this is not the pass rushers. This is not Chandler Jones or Marcus Golden. This is guys like Lecky Fotu, Rashard Lawrence, Zach Allen, Jordan Phillips, J.J. Watt. I know they move him around a bit, but, guys like that. So what grade do you give those folks? Got an F and a B minus. Let's see. Interior line, excluding Watt, solid D. Phillips has been really good. Yeah, Phillips, as much as, and I've been critical of the signing too, and with the injuries, and he didn't play well last year, but since coming back, he's been good. I'm glad we've got him right now. As much as that contract was bad, he's been one of our interior defensive linemen. He has been one of the better playing. In fact, let's see, his PF. Not everyone's a big fan of PFF. I get that, but amongst our interior defensive linemen, he's got a grade of 67.1, and the only interior defensive lineman with a better grade is J.J. Watt with 79.5. So, listen, as much as we've all been kind of hating on him, and me too, guilty, Phillips has. It's been good that we've had him with Watt being injured and the other injuries on the interior defensive line. But seeing a solid D there, okay. Zach Allen struggled this year. He's a guy that I would like to see him perform better, but he's had his moments, right? Lawrence hopefully Lawrence can help out a lot, right? But got a D. Let's see, got a C plus. Thank you for being here, Ricky Mariotti. I don't know if I've seen you in chat, caught you in the chat before this, but appreciate you. So thanks for being here. A C plus, okay. And then we've got D. D to C. Standouts, Watt and Dogby. Pass rush is fair, but the tackling run D is atrocious. Pass rush gets let's see. Pass rush gets a C plus, run defense D minus. The interior pass rush, I'm assuming, is what you mean there, Mark. Let's see. I wouldn't give them anything below a C just because how solid our red zone. That's and that's a good point. Like, the run defense has struggled, but when it comes to fourth down, let me do a plug. If you haven't watched the video I did about the Cardinals run defense, I did it a few weeks back after the Green Bay game. I did a deep dive about the run defense, and so check that out. It's put a lot into looking at the film and the stats on that one. And the run defense has been bad, and that defensive interior line is a big part of the run defense, no doubt, and a big part of the problem. But on third downs and fourth downs and goal lines, they've been really good. So it's hard for me to give them too low of a grade, because at points they've stepped up, right? So he's changing it to D plus because of that. All right. Our D line's totally replaceable. I mean, a lot of the guys, are not. I mean, I wouldn't say they're quite replacement level, but like they're what they sometimes call Jags, just a guy, right? At least the way they perform. So my grade, I gave them a C plus. I think the run defense has been overall pretty bad, but at points they've stepped up again on third down and fourth down. Their run defenses out there that can't stop teams that can't get a stop, right? This is a run defense that can get a stop when they need to. Third down and fourth down, goal lines. They did, they stopped Derrick Henry. They did a good job against him. It's only 1 week, but so I'm giving them a C plus, which but it's not been great, no doubt. And I think they're a big part of the problems with the run defense. But for me, it's a C plus. The linebackers have been a big part of that too. So I think it's both. I think the interior. Well, I think it's the middle linebackers and the interior defensive line, because like I get that you want those middle linebackers to get in there and make plays, but they shouldn't have to make all the plays. Your interior defensive line should make some of those plays, and too many of them get past them, at least in my opinion. But I do think it needs to be shared, but I still think the interior defensive line is part of it. Simon saying our gap control strategy has been let Jalen Thompson crash in. I mean, listen, that's why Jalen's been so good, and he's gone in there and made plays for us. So yeah, I think the run defense, it's a lot of players, but yeah. Hicks is so bad this year. He's always in the wrong gap. He's had, and they like him, he as a leader, and but he's I do think he's part of the run defense. What's gap control? Are you asking that as in literally asking that, or like as in what's gap control? We don't have any of it. So when you have run defenders, each of them often are assigned a gap that they have to kind of control and keep under wraps, so to speak, right? The different gaps in the offensive line, and preventing running backs from getting a seam and getting a lane to run through. So a lot of times the key to run defense is get what they call gap integrity. Making sure you're playing your gap and not getting out of position. And when defenders get moved out of position or get out of position because they're making mistakes, then that's where running backs find big holes. So yeah. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Richard's got to head out. Appreciate you being part of the conversation. So thank you for being here. So interior defensive line, it does seem they're probably so far the lowest grade, and I have a feeling they'll probably end up being. So I'm seeing a lot of grades in the D and a few C's, maybe a B in there, but sounds like we all agree that's not graded particularly well. So the next group we're going to look at is the pass rushers. How would you grade the pass rushers? So get your grades for the pass rushers in the chat, and we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Jordan's comments. In a 3-4 defense, interior D linemen are supposed to take on double teams in order to create the open gaps for middle linebackers. I mean, yeah, in a base 3-4, and so I totally get that, right? They call it's a difference between a 1 gap and a 2 gap system, and that your defensive linemen are supposed to hold up the guys, and maybe if a guy comes to try to tackle runners as they pass by, but nothing else. But primarily they're keeping their guy kind of in position so the linebackers get in there. Part of the problem with that, though, Jordan, is even though their base is a 3-4, they run a lot of nickel, and when they're in the nickel, they actually have like a 4-2 front. They have the 2 interior defensive linemen, then they have the 2 edge rushers and a couple middle linebackers, and sometimes they bring a safety in to help support that. So actually, a lot of their snaps look more like a 4-3 front, except a 4-2, and maybe a 4-3 if they bring a safety in. So it's not always that. So that's the one reason I would say that it's. So I still think it's both the defensive linemen and the linebackers that are at fault. I think it's both. But If you say it's more linebackers, I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not going to split totally. That's fair. I'm not going to totally die on that hill there. But okay, for pass rushers, get Wolf saying Chandler gets a D, Golden can have a B. Okay. Man, you're a little down on him. Chandler, man, after that first game, right? He really kind of disappeared. I know he missed a few games, but it was nice to see him back getting some sacks recently. But Chandler, after that that sack explosion week 1, he has really disappeared for a while, right? I think Golden deserves better than a B, but that maybe I'm biased. I love me some Marcus Golden. Dude is, one of my favorite Cardinals, right? So, man, yeah, Collins, the tough part about Collins is he hasn't been on the field enough, I will say this, though, like Zaven Collins has actually played well when he's on the field. In fact, like he's one of the better graded defenders. His PFF grade is 71.7. So the problem is he's just not on the field enough. He's looked good when he's been out there, but hopefully we'll see more of him next year. Mark Jackson saying pass rushers get a solid B. A lot of sacks and quarterback hurries. Yeah. You're scared Golden will leave $2 million for 10 plus sacks. I'll tell you, I don't think he's leaving. I think he wants to stay here. I mean, he almost retired, I think, but the Cardinals, traded for him. I do think, he'll get a raise when he's up for a contract next, but I think he's going to do a home team discount. The guy, he loves being a Cardinal. He doesn't want to play anywhere else. Hopefully they will reward him with a better contract when it's time to re-sign him. But I think he'll be here. I think they'll figure it out. Though it may mean Chandler Jones might be moving on. And I'll tell you, if I think I'd rather have Marcus Golden for $5 to $7 million a year than Chandler Jones for 12 or whatever million a year he wants. But so yeah. We'll see, though. Pass rush is going to be plus. Golden's been very productive. Chandler's coming back on. Kennard also has a huge bat down against Green Bay in the 4th down. Okay. Zaven is just Jordan Hicks insurance show. I think Zaven is going to, we'll see. I think Zaven is getting a little bit of the Isaiah Simmons treatment where I think, Vance Joseph maybe doesn't like playing rookies as much. And I think next year Zaven Collins will be a full-time player, and I think he's going to maybe see some more snaps as the season goes on. So I think I'm not worried about the Zaven Collins thing. I think it's going to be a little bit like what we saw with Isaiah Simmons. He'll get more playtime next year, I think at least. Let's see. Pass rush, B-. It's been volatile. 1 week, 5 sacks, next 0. Does that say we can't keep up against good opposing offensive lines? Let's see. Still give B- because credit needs to be given where credit is due. Okay. He wants 8. Okay. You're probably right. So I'll tell you what, though, I don't think he's getting 18 plus a year unless he really turns it on. So maybe it's 15 I don't know, but whatever it ends up being, I think I'm not for pay at this point. I know at one point I was like pay the man, and I've kind of gone back and forth on that, but now I definitely lean towards not overpaying for him. But okay, I'm a little more optimistic about the pass rushers. Maybe I'm just or maybe I'm just kind of being influenced too much by how good Marcus Golden has been, and other guys have been getting sacks when they needed him. I gave him an A-. I think they have put pressure. It's Chandler Jones has struggled, but overall they've gotten pressure a decent bit. But maybe I'm a little too optimistic about that, right? Yeah. Chandler's getting cheaper and cheaper as season goes. I mean, listen, if it keeps going this way, that's what it's gonna look like. So let's start getting your grades for the inside linebackers up in the chat. We'll go to that next. And while you're doing that, I'll just mention, if you haven't seen, I went ahead and closed the poll that I had. What grade would you give the Arizona Cardinals thus far this season? Hopefully you can see that in the results. 62 votes. We had 80% of folks giving them an A. 16% giving them a B, 1% giving them a C, 1% giving them a D. I'm guessing those might be folks who are not Cardinals fans who were in the chat. So, but anyway, okay, so we've got that going on there. So, that poll ended. So, what do you think for the inside linebackers? And this is, really Isaiah Simmons, Jordan Hicks, Zaven Collins, Tanner Vallejo, Joe Walker, anyone else that they've played at that inside linebacker position thus far this year. So let's see. We've got Wolf giving them a B plus. Okay. All inside linebackers get a B plus. Okay, so you feel pretty good about the inside linebackers. Okay. So what grades would you all? Let's see some more of those grades in there. Got a B from Not Mario. Okay. Inside linebackers get a C plus. Horrible against the run, but Simmons has been really good in pass coverage. And he was good against the run early in the season, but not as of late. Okay. So got a C plus. All right. Not sure about B minus at most. Okay. So Mark's got a B minus for the inside linebackers. All right. So yeah, it's tough because I think you've got to look at it partly the same way you're looking at the interior defensive line because they are part of that run defense problem, right? And they haven't been great against the run, and part of that's on Jordan Hicks particularly. Simmons has had some really great games. He hasn't. I don't think he's been as consistently impactful as I'd hoped he would be, but he's overall been good and had some huge plays. We've got goal line audibles with a B minus here. Okay. Jordan saying I'm low on them because I've watched the games back. And Hicks is always in the wrong gap on run plays. He's been awful. Okay. What is up? Thank you for being here, Gino. Let's go Cards. Appreciate you joining the chat. Yeah, so I'll tell you, I've got a B minus for the inside linebackers. I think they've made some plays here and there. I think Simmons has made some huge plays. He's been all over the field. When Collins has been in, he's looked good. I even think Tanner Vallejo, before he got injured, has played well when he's been in there. Hicks has struggled. He's made a few plays. He has, so it's been inconsistent. So for me, I'm at a B minus for the inside linebackers. Simon saying B. Simmons, Collins, Vallejo have been great. Hicks has been consistent. Unfortunately, plays the most. So, that brings down the grade. Okay. George Ramirez Jr., B minus. They have made plays when they need to, just need to shore up the run. Yeah. Again, it's a little bit some of the same thing with the interior defensive line in terms of their on their ability, how good they've been stopping teams on 3rd and 4th down in goal line. You have to give them some credit for that, right? Hicks got ran over by Dillon on that 4th down, yeah. So we're going to go to the defensive backs next. So we're grouping quarterbacks and safeties. But if you want to specify, if you want to kind of split that up and mention grades for both, you can do that. But we'll get to we're going to move on to what grade would you give the secondary or defensive backs? So let's hear what your thoughts are on that. We talked a little bit earlier about how good Jalen Thompson's been. We talked a little bit about Byron Murphy and Robert Alford. So be interesting to hear your thought on the defensive backs. And, coming into this season, the position that everyone was worried about, right? I mean, the most concerned position we had the most concern about as fans coming into the season was cornerback, right? Everyone thought, hoped the Cardinals would draft a cornerback in the 1st round. Instead, they drafted Zaven Collins, and then they didn't draft one until the 4th round. And then they drafted another one in the 6th round. And, Marco Wilson and Tay Gowns. Now, Tay Gowns, they've traded him, obviously to get Zach Ertz. Marco Wilson is playing a lot of snaps. And then obviously, we had, the retirement of, Malcolm Butler, just like out of the blue, right? We thought he was going to be our starting quarterback. He retires, right? So coming into the season, we were all really, really concerned about cornerbacks. And they've been decent. I mean, they have not been a train wreck. It has not been, if you ask what's the biggest concern position on our defense, they're not one of the positions you're going to say too early. It's going to be defensive line and maybe Jordan Hicks, right? Before you get to cornerbacks, right? So let's take a look at the grades folks are saying. Let's see. All right, safeties an A, cornerbacks a B. Okay, so Nick's given the safeties an A, cornerbacks a B. Now goal line audibles given A+, outperformed all expectations. I will tell you, when I was putting together my grades, initially I was tempted to give them an A+ because of what I was just talking about, right? That the expectations were, we were going to be worried, and our pass defense has been good. Like, it has been really good. It's not been, it hasn't shut. I wouldn't say our cornerbacks have been shut down cornerbacks, but teams have not passed excessively on the Cardinals, right? It's the running defense, right? Okay, so all corners get an A+, safeties can have a B+. Okay. A+, no fly zone. Hey, bringing that nickname back. I like it. Corners get A, Wood get an A, but Marco has been get an A-. Would get an A, but Marco's been really bad. Safeties get an A, not an A+ because Buddha's had some head-scratching plays like the touchdown give up in Green Bay. Okay. Jalen Thompson gets an A++ by himself overall. Okay. Right. Mark Jackson, overall, the secondary has been good. Buddha has been consistent, but not as impactful as in the past. I'm going with a B overall. Okay. We own the sky. We are so deep at corner, we traded one away for a tight end and another retired preseason. Okay. Simon, defensive backs, A, safeties are excellent. DBs haven't been giving up pass interference. Alfred surprisingly not getting targeted. Marco sometimes gets lit, but that's to be expected for a rookie. Okay. I'll tell you what, Marco, I mean, in my opinion, Marco Wilson has been uneven. In the preseason, he was so good. And he has still been, in my opinion, a pleasant surprise, because to be a fourth-round rookie and playing as much as he's playing, and at least being serviceable enough that he can be on the field is still a good thing. But he has struggled. Like, his PFF grade is 51.9, which is really, which isn't, it is not horrendous, but it's not great. So I think he's exceeded expectations, but I will tell you, he's gotten burnt a bit. He's struggled. He never gets beat deep, but gives up first downs with all that space. Okay, he gets beat on, like, I would say he gets beat. He doesn't really get beat deep, but he does make some mistakes. He's got a few PI calls, and he does get burnt, like, on receivers that are with good route running. Like, he kind of makes a false step and such. So I think Wilson has been better than expected for a fourth-round pick, but I don't think he's been great. He's been okay. But I am optimistic about his future potential, playing, as a rookie. I think he's going to be better next year. So I'm seeing, where there's a little bit of variance. It seems like folks are a little bit generally positive about the defensive backs, but not the grades are a little bit of variance there. So let's see. In my opinion, we should get a corner in the first, second round of this draft, perhaps. And thank you for being honest. Appreciate that. I think we should get a cornerback some point somewhere in the draft. I don't know if I'd go first round, because I think some guys have really worked out for us. Part of it depends on how Robert Alford plays. In fact, let's all take a moment for Robert Alford. Robert Alford has been I mean, again, he's been our best graded quarterback. He's been consistent. He's been great. And so also someone mentioned we're not getting a ton of PIs. And if you've watched enough of my streams and my videos, you know that's kind of something I've been talking about a lot. Last year, the Cardinals got so many pass interference calls, right? Dre Kirkpatrick and Patrick Peterson were pass interference machines. And we've had a few flags this year, but it has been nowhere near what it was last year. So that's been a huge plus, right? And Robert Alford, listen, Robert Alford's been so good. I really think I actually think Robert Alford is the most underrated player right now on the Cardinals. As much as we talk about Jalen Thompson, at least we're talking about him a little. Robert Alford deserves a lot more discussion. Let's see. Marco is reminded of AJ Terrell and Trayvon Diggs rookie years last year. Both allowed a lot of yards, but was generally loved from the fan base and positive future Cardinals fans just being a tad harsh. Yeah, listen, I mean, I generally agree. Like AJ Terrell, so I live in Georgia. Some of you probably know. So I know, I have some good friends that are Falcons fans. So I probably, of any team that is not the Cardinals, I probably pay a little bit more attention to the Falcons than other teams. And Terrell had a rough rookie year, but he's been so good this year. So the hope is that Marco Wilson would have that kind of trajectory, that he would play, he's struggling a little bit this year, but hopefully he'll be better. And, I kind of, where I fall on Marco Wilson is he's struggling this year. So some folks think he's playing really great. I don't think he's playing amazingly. He's struggling a little bit, but he's struggling the way you expect a rookie to struggle. So I'm not, when I look at it, when I say he's struggling, I'm not like overly critical of it, if that makes sense. It's to be expected. But I'm hopeful that he's going to develop and be really good next year, right? Is he still playing for us, or do you even target him? It seems like people aren't targeting Alfred, right? So, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so so defensive backs, so defensive backs. Okay, y'all aren't gonna love my grades for them. I gave the defensive backs a B. And I'm grading, but I'll tell you, I'm grading them. I'm not grading them compared to expectations. I'm grading them as they performed. And a B is a good grade. Maybe I should go with a B plus, but here's what I would look at. Alfred's been solid, right? Absolutely. Byron Murphy Jr. has been solid. He's had a few off moments, but overall it's been good. Wilson struggled, but struggled like a rookie. And I don't think he's been horrendous, but he struggled a little bit. Budda Baker has been good, but not at the same level we expect from him. He's not had his best season, and Jalen Thompson's been good. But I don't think that they've been, to me, at A level. I think they have the potential to get there, but I just don't think they've quite done the A-level performance. They've been good, but that's my take. So let's see. We see Rich B plus for Ricky, and maybe B plus is probably better, more accurate than a B. But yeah, overall, I think they've been really good though. They've exceeded expectations. I guess to me, why I'm not giving them an A is I think expectations were so low that we're inflating their grade because we expected so little of them, right? Mark's agreeing with me. Okay, so are you with me on that one, or is it something else you're agreeing with me? So, but I think they've been really good, better than expected. Just not as. I think, I don't know. I wouldn't say anyone's been totally elite, but so I definitely see that though. Marcus playing fine, my man. I don't care what's that you found. Didn't Byron Murphy have a rough first year? So yeah, Byron Murphy had a really rough first year, and they played him on the outside his first year, and he struggled mightily. In his second year, they moved him into the slot. He played much better, and this year he's playing both slot and outside depending on the alignment. So yeah. So listen, when I say Marco's struggling, again, I'm not sounding the alarm. I'm not saying, oh, he's struggling like I'd expect him to struggle as a rookie who's playing this much. But the fact that he's playing this much as a rookie means he's probably doing better than expected. So I'm just objectively speaking, though, compared to players like Robert Alford and Byron Murphy, Marco Wilson's struggling. But he's struggling. It's not struggling in a way that's alarming because he's a rookie. And hopefully next year he'll take the step forward and be much better. So it's, take it with the nuance that's intended, right? From what I said about Buddha, and great. Okay, so we're on the same. Buddha's been good. It's one of those things we all love Buddha. Buddha is one of our favorite Cardinals players, and so it feels like it's almost like you never want to say he's not having a great year because he is so good and we love him, and we've been, as Cardinals fans, it feels like we've been kind of fighting against everyone else in the league to be like, hey, look at Budda Baker. He's the best safety in the league. Y'all are underrating him. And so it feels wrong to say he's not having his best year, but he's still, I still think he's, arguably the best safety or one of the best couple safeties in the league. He's just not playing as well as he usually does. But yeah. Let's see. We have 3 Pro Bowl level players in the secondary. I think we have at least three players who are Pro Bowl caliber players. Yeah, I mean, I think Alford deserves consideration. I think, again, Jalen Thompson and then, Budda Baker. I think all three of those guys you could say, yeah. So the next thing we're going to get to is the special teams, the grades. What grades would you assign the special teams? I can see there's a lot of folks having a lot of opinions. Marco, people have strong opinions about the Marco Wilson thing, right? So yeah. So let's see. What grade? And John, thank you for being here. This is something we talked about earlier. I think it's one of those things. A couple of folks said the same thing that in the chat earlier, and I think probably you might be right. Jane Thompson's playing a little better than Budda this year, but I still listen. I love Budda Baker, and I think what he brings at defense, the intangibles, and what he brings as a player are all very important, right? But special teams. What grade would you give? Oh, I should probably change that to there we go. What grade would you give the special teams thus far? And for special teams, we're going to include kicking, punting, and kick and punt returns, right? So all of it, right? So let's see. We have got Jordan P here. Special teams gets a B. Prater missed kicks lately. Then the kickoff return touchdown given up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Prater makes me insane. Man, I still think, Zane is like, there's good Zane and bad Zane, like, because when he's good, he's like he is this year, but then he has an off year and you end up cutting him. So, the version of Zane that they're getting is in Carolina right now is yeah, I'd love to have that, but at some point you feel like it's gonna the other shoe is gonna drop, right? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Special teams is a B overall. Okay. Ooh, Wolf bringing the fire here. Special teams gets an F. No good. Get rid of them all. Okay. Andy Lee is a great punter, and it's funny only seeing Isabel as a gun on punt. Okay. Prater had one. Yeah, Prater had one bad game. And he's been consistent aside from that. And I give him a little bit of a pass on that. I think his wife just had a baby, and I know they had a different long snapper, and because of the injuries, so I don't know. We'll see what this next game's like, right? But he had that the one game he had was a really bad game. Fortunately, we won the game despite that, right? Prater's more clutch than Zane. Listen, remember though, he had that, what was the 60 whatever yard field goal at halftime against Minnesota, and it ended up being, if he didn't make that kick at going into halftime, I mean, that was part of the margin of victory, right? So, man, let's see. With the best special teams player ever, Isabella signing plus, nice. Is D Hop and Murray playing against Bears? So we've talked about this a few times. Short answer is I don't know. There's optimistic signs that they might play because they've been practicing, but it's still a game. It's going to be a game time decision. So yeah, we don't know yet. Hopefully, but we don't know. Prater 75%, Zane 9%. Yeah, this year, right? But Zane, to tell you, he's been good this year. But what's gonna happen? Is he gonna eventually just fall off a cliff? We'll see. I don't know. Maybe he's figured it out. Special team C, kicking has been above average, punting is average, returning is quite poor in my opinion. I'm not impressed with Moore's returner thus far. Okay. Hans, C plus for special teams. Prater's not as good as advertised, I think is what you meant there. We should play Gardeck more like last year. Last year we had a B plus special teams. Okay. Mark saying, I'm going to give special teams a B minus. Muff punt and returns, missed kick, short punts have been the problem. Giving up a TD on a missed kick is bring the grade down some. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Keenan, D-Hop posting on Instagram, Kyler on Twitter, they hinted return. So hopefully they'll be back, but we'll see, right? Yeah, we also gave up the field goal return touchdown. Yeah, in Jacksonville. I was there for that game. That was rough. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Len's got to go. School tomorrow. Yep, school priority, buddy. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I try to answer the questions if I can. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. This is not above average kicking. His average, I think that last game really brings it down because he missed, was it 2 kicks and an extra point? So, yeah. So I gave the special teams a B minus. So once again, Mark Jackson and I are like in agreement here. I think that was the grade you gave them as well. I think Prater has been good. He had that one really bad game, okay? But aside from that one bad game, I think he's been pretty good. And again, that one kick in Minnesota that he made, as much as he had this rough game, I think he deserves some bonus points for making that 60-plus yard kick that if he doesn't make that game going to halftime, the Cardinals don't win that game. Woo, 5 a.m. here. Yeah, auto correction. No worries about that. But man, yeah, appreciate you being here that early. Thank you. So I think overall, Prater himself is a B, probably, maybe a B plus if I'm being generous. But that last game was rough. But aside from that, he's been pretty good. Punting has been okay. It's had its moments. But yeah, the return game hasn't been great. We haven't had, we've had 1 or 2 decent returns, but we haven't had much. We haven't really had any big plays in the return game, and we've had some muff kickoffs and punts or whatever, or muff punts. And I love Rondale Moore, but he hasn't been great in the return game. So yeah, to me, it's a B minus for special teams. That's been a little bit rough. And again, giving up that field goal return for a touchdown, right? So for sure. Let's see. What's the logic of being willing to call a quarterback draw but not a quarterback sneak with Kyler Murray? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing part of a conversation here. I don't know. What is the logic? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're referencing there, Wolf, but help me understand. Let's see. George, I saw a video montage of game-losing plays, showed Zane with the Browns sitting by himself in the bench. After the game, he missed the game-winning kick and signed with us the following year. And then he was decent that next year. And then he was bad. And now he's decent. It just feels like at some point he has a good season and a bad season. So I don't know. We got Eno to my eye looks like a decent return. I hope to see more of him. Yeah, he's in the few returns that we've seen from him. I think he has looked decent, right? I look forward to seeing more of Eno Benjamin. They with Edmonds out, I thought that they would run Eno more than they have. They've just leaned more heavily on James Conner, which I love James Conner, but I thought we'd see more of Eno. I look forward to seeing though what we're going to get out of him. Might have mentioned this earlier, but do you think Arizona will beat Bears? We didn't get into depth, but we did a little bit. We asked, someone asked what the record, what the score we thought would be. I think most all of us think they're going to beat the Bears. It might, but Kyler might be rusty. The weather might be a little bit tough with some rain and cold weather. So it might be a rough game, and if Kyler doesn't play and Colt's playing, that could be tough. But I think we'll win, but I don't know. Unless everyone's healthy, I think it could be a tighter game than we'd expect. But I think I said like 27-17 or something like that. But it might not. We'll see, right? But I do think the Cardinals will win against the Bears, hopefully, right? Let's see. Yeah, he hits that whole hard on returns. Yeah, Eno is just, man, he's a physical runner, right? So 100%. Do I plan to go to any playoff games or Super Bowl? Probably not. That's a little rich for my blood. Those tickets aren't cheap. Probably going to enjoy all those from home. But I am looking forward to enjoying those nonetheless. Did you go to the Seattle game? I know you live up there, right? If I believe you did, right? Let's see. Thanks. Thanks. I grew up myself. I've worn a beard for a lot of years, so I'm definitely. I don't have a particularly defined chin, so I'm definitely a beard person. But thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, $500+ for those tickets. So right, yeah. Who would you rather go against, Fields or Dalton? That's a good question. Because Dalton, for all the things people say about him as a veteran, right? Fields, he's a little more explosive but he's a rookie. I'm still gonna say because I'm going to say Fields. I'm going to pick a rookie. I guess it's tough because his potential is upsides there. But I think Vance Joseph is such a good defensive coordinator, and our team has been so good against the pass. And I'm going to trust that Vance Joseph is going to find a way to confuse the rookie that might not as easily confuse a veteran. But it's close. It's absolutely close, right? Yeah. Kingsbury calls 3 quarterback sneaks with McCoy and a quarterback draw. Never done it with Kyler. Yeah, I think with Kyler they're trying to keep him healthy. That's why they don't do it. Maybe. For you, it's easily you'd rather see Fields, but someone else is saying Dalton easily, right? You're going to the Colts game on Christmas. Awesome. That enjoy that. Yeah, that's awesome. We have history exposing Dalton. Okay. Fields is more talented, can move, but we can see struggle with Lance running around. Yeah, okay. Fields is much better passing Lance. Okay. This is Dalton's. Let's not forget. Yeah, okay. We obliterated Dalton in primetime last year. I feel good about our chances to win, but yeah, I'm only going to freeze once this year. No more games at the stadium. Next year, I might make some in Glendale. Yeah, okay. Hoping Cards pull off a win and get Kyler back in a groove. We'll be the Rams hoping we win and win the West. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I do think the Cardinals win. It's tough. It is real tough, like picking between would you rather go in Fields or Dalton, because Dalton isn't an elite quarterback, but he is a veteran. Fields has more upside, more big playability, but yeah. Oh, hey, Duff. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you, longtime subscriber. What is up? Thank you. You've been a subscriber for a while, and I always appreciate your comments. It's good to see you in the chat, man. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. So yeah, so it's a tough one. So we've gone through the grades. Kliff is 0-2 after the bye. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting note there, right? So yeah. Interesting. Let me get these. Take that down. So we've gone through the grades. It's been interesting to hear the grades that you all had for them for the different position groups. It does seem there's a lot of folks are kind of generally in have a similar idea, similar range, a little bit of variance in a few positions, right? Let's see. Just let me get some of the comments in here. Oh, grades for coaching. Okay, good call. Let's do grades for coaching. I didn't plan that, but I should have. Thank you, Simon. That's a great call. Let's do Kliff and Vance. I think those are the real, because they don't have a traditional offensive coordinator. So Vance Joseph and Kliff Kingsbury, what are your grades for them? Let's see. So Jordan's already got a Vance a B plus, a Kliff A minus. Okay. Awesome. So, and I'm guessing your Vance is downgraded because of the run defense. I'm guessing, right? So what grades would you? Let's get the grades for the coaches in the chat. I'd love to hear what you think on that. Got a question here. What players will really show up for Arizona this week? That's a good. The kind of game it's going to be with the weather. I'm thinking James Conner. I think it's going to be potentially a run-heavy game in Chicago. So I think James Conner's the guy. Maybe a little Zach Ertz too. But that's my guess. James Conner for who's going to show up. Then on defense. Who knows, right? Maybe I think I could see Isaiah Simmons having a good game. But yeah. But I think James Conner is the guy I'm gonna really look towards. Let's see. So coaches, we've got a B plus and a B plus. Mark Jackson, okay. Jordan P. I'd give Vance higher, but he still hasn't fixed the run defense at all. Yep, that's fair. Vance is probably more consistent than Kliff. Is great, but started off with some bad calls versus the Texans. Okay. Vance is an A minus, and with what Kliff did with McCoy in the games we won, A plus. Truly exceeded my expectations. Questioned Kliff's coaching until he showed us he can still win with pieces missing. Okay, I like that. Yeah. So you're talking about the Cleveland game, right? Where Kliff was out, we did okay with them, so give him a B. He still deserves credit for installing the offense in the game plan. But I hear you. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of B's and B pluses and A minuses, right? Vance can have an A. He's still a top 5 defensive unit. Still has a top 5 defensive unit here. Okay. Simon, Vance A, Kliff B plus. I think Vance has done really good with the personnel he was given. Kliff's play calling is hit and miss. When he calls less screens, I'll give him an A. Okay, fair. Let's see, Hans. Kliff has definitely upgraded the play calling, so he gets an A minus for me. And Vance is doing an amazing job outside of the run defense, so 2 A minuses for me. Okay. Yeah, there were 0 screens when we didn't have Kliff calling. Yeah. So I hadn't. So this is a good question. I'm gonna go with an A minus for Vance Joseph, and I think I'm gonna go with an A minus also for Kliff. Vance Joseph has done a phenomenal job, especially again we talked about earlier the cornerbacks, right? Like just with how much better the team has played than expected on defense. This coming in, people didn't expect this defense to be as good as it is, but he's taken a team that had a lot of questions at cornerback and turned it into a really good defensive unit. They have struggled against the run, but I think some of that's the personnel he's working with. And the fact that when they needed to shut down the run on third down and fourth down, they've been able to do that. I think he's done overall a really good job, and I think Kliff's done a really good job. I think Kliff benefits from obviously from the talent he has, and some of his play calling isn't always maybe elite, but I think he's made improvements, and what he did with, again, winning 2 out of 3 games with Colt McCoy, and some of them in impressive fashion, I think he deserves probably an A-. So that's roughly where I would be with them. So yeah. He's trying to establish the area. It's interesting. He came in doing that. What he's doing now is a hybrid. Like he's moved away from the air. It's still air raid concepts, but like he's using the tight end more. It really is a hybrid, and every year he's moved a little bit more away from a pure air raid and more towards kind of a hybrid of it. So it's kind of interesting what he's doing. Do you stream the games on your channel? Because I live in Australia. I don't. I don't stream the games. No, I'm sorry. I do. We do have a Discord. There's a link in the description to the video. And although we don't stream it there are folks in the Discord kind of chatting during the game, like messages and stuff. But I don't stream during the game, so I'm sorry. I do post game reactions and live streams sometimes after the games, but I don't stream it. I am generous overall. I probably am. I am a generous grader, probably a little bit. Brian shocked the hell out of me, questioned his ability to play outside against 1-2 receivers. Glad he's a Cardinal. Yeah, he's been really good this year, for sure. If you recall correctly, this first year, I believe that we've had a run game coordinator as a coaching position. Maybe he has something to do with it. Maybe, yeah. I don't know if it's the first year we've had that or not. That's a good question. But we did have a pass. I know we had a passing game. So is that what we have this year? We had a passing game coordinator last year, I thought, too. But I'm not certain. I'd have to look at that. But all right, so we've got an hour and 46 minutes so far. Yeah, Hans got a hookup for you there, so check him out. There are places to stream the game. I can't really say that. Yes, there are ways to do that. Is the professor generous grader in real life? Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to finals. I do round up students that are close if they've been showing up to class. So I probably am a little. My classes are tough, but I'm a generous grader, if that makes sense. Let's see. We got a question. Do you think we replace Beach next year, sliding Josh Jones to right tackle, or bringing in a new right tackle? It's a good question. I mean, Kelvin Beachum has been good. They like him, and he's on a good contract. And I think he's got another year. I'm going to look it up. Beachum contract. Let's take a look at that. His contract is he's signed next year, and he's on a really team-friendly contract. I mean, he's signed. Let's see, his average salary. I mean, but his cap hit is $1.57 million. It's next year his cap hit is $2.4 million. So I think they're gonna. I mean, I don't think they're gonna. He's been good. He's on a good contract. I don't think they're going to push him out. I think they're going to keep him around. I do think they hope that Josh Jones can replace him in a couple years, but I don't think they're going to move on from him or replace him. And I do think he's a good right tackle. So good right tackle on a team-friendly deal. I don't think they're moving on from him just yet. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. George bringing some fire here. Kliff and kind of neat together. In the delayed game penalties, nearly every game we get burned timeouts and getting penalties. That should have been corrected year one. I mean, that we would like to see that get fixed. Yeah. Man, I like when you stream live. It's fun to connect with Cardinals fans and just talk logical football, realistic expectations. Thank you, I appreciate that. And if you love that, and I know I keep plugging this, but if you aren't already part of the Discord, if you like being able to chat, again, I really strongly encourage you to join the Discord. There's a link in the description below, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat right now as well, because there are folks chatting all the time. There's news, updates, messages during the game. There's good 10 or 15 of us that are kind of just in there chatting. So that if you enjoy just being able to connect it, and I've enjoyed it as well. If you aren't already part of the Discord, we do that all. That's a great place to do that as well. Got to go to work. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. I really appreciate that. Thank you. This is a great stream. People need to be on Discord or follow your tweets. Find out more about the channel. Yeah, please. And if you aren't following me on Twitter, please do. My links are down below, and I am on Instagram, although I don't use Instagram as much. But yeah, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. How do I know so much about football? Do you used to be a coach? No, I'm old and I watch a lot of it, and I thank you though. I follow the Cardinals religiously. I listen to podcasts. I love listening to stuff by folks like Brett Coleman, Mina Kimes. I listen to podcasts from PFF. And there's a lot I don't know, but I've been learning just doing this. But yeah, it's kind of my obsessive hobby. So thank you. But yeah, we forget to Spencer Whipple, that dude, yeah, who called the plays on the Cleveland game, right? A+. Professor, next live stream, you should dress up as Bruce Arians, keep the costs, wearing one of those kangaroo hats, because yeah, like a sunset. Listen, I do have that little bit of resemblance. I do have a hat. It's not red, but I have kind of a little bit like it's not exactly a kangaroo hat, but I've got a hat that kind of fits that. So maybe I'll wear that, right? Yeah. Have a drink and cuss like a sailor. Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah. Thanks for helping out. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the questions. Thank you all for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm glad we got to connect to a live stream, on bye week, and looking forward to, this next week. I usually do often do a live stream sometime Sunday night, depending on how things go. And then I do the Monday show with Mike Daisy, sports fan. So, please be sure to check those out. Before we get out of here, let me go ahead and just do one more thing. Every live stream, I want to throw a shout out to the channel members who help support the channel. There's a handful of folks who are channel members who help support, offset the, there's some costs associated with doing this, the material, the equipment that I use, and subscriptions, things like PFF. And I do this because I love it. So I don't, but it is nice to that the folks who help support that. It's certainly greatly appreciated. I know, like, I support through Patreon and things like that, people that I believe in. Like, I give a little bit here or there per month to some podcasters and YouTubers that I believe in. So it means a lot to me, the folks that are channel members. So every live stream, I want to throw up kind of a shout out to them. I've got the Ring of Honor and the starting lineup channel members. Some of them have been in here tonight: Calvin, Mark Jackson, I think a few other folks, Lennon Wolf, Simon. So thank you all. So I want to definitely do a shout out for all of you, and appreciate everyone being here. So we're going to go ahead and end the stream. So thank you all. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the game. We will see you guys all next time we do a stream, and go